No, John Douglas.
Welcome to Tuesday Night Modern. My name is Taylor Gunn. I'm here with the handsome John Douglas.
Here I am.
We have a great one for you to lead off. Andrew Tefft playing his Goryo's Gifts deck of the Esper colors. And Max Rumker playing Living End.
I was going to feel bad about putting this Goryo's Gifts deck on again, but the match that you picked first, one of the people didn't want to be on camera, so I was like, all right, well, whatever. I'm going to treat myself.
Treat yourself.
I'm going to treat myself to some Goryo's Gifts. And bonus, Living End.
Yeah,
I like
you
both
love
of
both these decks.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both of them.
This is, if John Douglas were to have one matchup to watch for the rest of his life on a desert island.
I wouldn't go that far.
No?
I wouldn't go that far. This is a...
Callblade mirrors?
No, Eternal Slide Mirrors.
Oh, jeez.
I would get through approximately one match.
Man, that sounds miserable.
It was really deep. Like, once you got to the level where you could understand what was going on, there was a lot of choices to be made.
A lot of choices to be made.
So here's what a lot of people don't really get about those mirrors, is that Astral Slide is whenever a player cycles a card.
Oh, sure. So you got stackable triggers.
Right.
So as our players decide on their sevens, we're brought to you by GameSwap Mason. You can find a wide variety of Magic the Gathering singles and sealed products from all throughout the game's history, as well as video games, movies, tabletop supplies, and board games. Plenty of table space when you come in for your friends and family to enjoy favorite classics, discover something new. They have a nice library of board games if you want to test drive something. It's conveniently located just north of Cincinnati on Route 42 in Mason, Ohio.
So did you just come up with that off the top? Did you just roll that one off? I'm impressed.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, all right.
Very
impressive.
I wanted people to know that information about GameSwap Mason.
Edward, thank you for the follow.
There you go. 12. Edward's 1 through 11 taken.
Yes, I think it was Edward F12.
Oh, F12.
Yeah.
What is that like? F11 does something. F11 is full screen.
They all do something.
F12 is that screenshot?
No, there's a separate screen capture button.
The Living End deck is mulliganing. This deck mulligans super well, yes?
Yeah, it can mulligan 6 very easily, 5 if it needs to.
You just get to see so many cards, and the deck has gotten better because the number of 1-mana cyclers has gone up.
Drastically.
You have Desert Ceradon.
Yeah.
In red, and Hoor of the
Broken Lands.
Broken Lands on as cycling for a black.
If you want to get really spicy,
yeah.
You also get Curator, cycles for a single blue mana.
What? Why? I mean, that adds a whole other color to the deck.
But it gives you a lot of other options as well.
What? Why?
Gives you a lot of other options as well.
Such as?
So you get to drop the red-green... No, sorry, the red-black Cascade spell and run the white-blue one instead, which doesn't require target, which is a really big deal in some matchups.
Okay. Well, this deck doesn't have white in it either. It's a Jund-colored deck.
The mana base changes dramatically. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, so we're shifting gears.
We're shifting all the way to 5 color and running like City of Brass, Mana Confluence, the whole 9 yards.
All right.
It's
all
a thing.
9 of them.
There are many yards that are run.
Taken 3 on his first turn.
Yeah, I think he is correctly identified that his life total is not really going to matter this game. I mean, it will in that his opponent will kill him via his life total, but 3 is not going to make or break anything. And we need to get cycling. There's that Hoor.
Hoor of the Broken Lands. Alright, so we're searching for a second land apparently. Passes.
Not hitting a second land isn't the end of the world. You do have some time. And he may have a Simian Spirit Guide in hand or in deck to where he can completely bypass the need for a third land. Yeah, these spirits don't matter.
Andrew's going to let it linger while Max continues to cycle.
Gets one. Grove of the Burn Willows is a solid one, too. You know what needs to be unbanned? Punishing Fire.
Oh, you think that engine is okay in modern?
Yeah, it's fine.
Holy smokes.
What's 2 damage kill anyway? Certainly not like a Death Shadow.
That deck wouldn't target Death Shadow. It would probably just let its opponent gain a bunch of life with Grove of the Burn Willows.
Yeah. No problem. I think we're at a point where that engine's fine. And here's the end of turn gifts. This one could be a big deal. Obviously, Max is just going to let it resolve here. Unless he's got the main deck ricochet traps.
Reading in here so he can remember what it reads. So as you remember, don't forget that this and every other match is going to be available on YouTube later. If you want to see a specific match that you remember seeing on stream, you can go to the Top Deck Productions YouTube channel. It's your best resource to find some of the favorite matches and the memorable moments from the stream. Subscribe while you're there, and you'll be notified when our updates come from our weekly stream. YouTube.com/TopDeckProductionsStream. Visit early, visit often.
You just got these preloaded in the chamber tonight.
I'm ready to...
You're on fire.
Pew, pew, pew. Ready to rock and roll. It's like I don't even have to think about it the same way Andrew's thinking deeply about this Gifts Ungiven. Looks like we've got Thoughtseize, Snapcaster,
Collective Brutality,
and
the
Burial
Rites.
Rites. I would get Thoughtseize and Collective Brutality.
Put him in the yard or give him to him. So looking at his hand, he's got 2 Violent Outbursts.
Okay,
so you want to protect at least one of them. I would just give him probably the Snapcaster and the Unburial Rites.
Okay. And that leaves him with just getting 1 card from your hand.
Right, and it makes him pay for it a lot. So he's going to get to untap with this now. He won't have Snapcaster gifts available to him right off the bat, but he may have Snapcaster whatever you put in his yard, and that's perfectly fine. There's not really a target. Okay, so he's giving him Thoughtseize. Give him the Thoughtseize and the Unburial Rites.
Alright, and so he uses Fairy Macabre to exile the 2 cards out of the graveyard.
Oh, here we go.
And here comes Violent Outburst with Andrew tapped out.
Yeah, so the big deal here was being able to get your opponent, your blue opponent, to tap out so that you can resolve this. Always miserable when this living end gets countered.
Yeah, that's got to be the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, if Andy has Iona on hand, that makes it very awkward indeed.
My question is going to be, how much power does Max get into play? Because that determines how many turns Andrew's going to have to respond to what's going on here. Lingering Souls buys him a bunch of turns.
Looks like 9 at least. Oh no, it's going to be plus the Horror of Broken Lands, so total of 12.
Alright, yeah, so this is going to be a 2-turn clock.
Potentially. It could be like a 1-turn clock.
Right, if he has a lot of cyclers for this Horror of the Broken Lands, he's going to break Andrew's lands very quickly here.
So I don't know if Andrew just didn't know what he was up against. He should have, given that the early cycles happened.
Right.
But it would have changed his gifts piles drastically.
thinking long and hard about the Architects of Will trigger, which lets him look at the top 3 cards of a player's library.
Correct.
And rearrange them.
Now, it looks like Andrew will have some removal if he needs it. I don't see a whole lot of other action in his hand. He really would want a Wrath here, although that doesn't do a whole lot for him.
Yep. Looks like his removal is going to come at instant speed. I'm imagining there's Path to Exile and Push in his deck. Would be the 2 premium ones in these colors. Here comes a Path on the Hooer.
Yeah, it's a good one to Path.
Apparently Max doesn't want either of these, any of the cards on top of his library. Well, he just values the
He's going to get 2 basics out of this.
Yeah.
So with all this mana, he can just start hard casting all of his big cycling creatures.
Yes.
And you don't think that dropping like 5-drop after 5-drop is particularly good, but when you have such a high density of large creatures, like you can't remove them all, and at some point they're just going to overwhelm you.
Yeah, they're big and they're dense.
I don't know if they're dense per se, but they are big.
Concur.
And the deck is dense with them.
Oh, the deck is dense.
The deck is dense.
Noted.
A lot of big fatties and a regular size deck.
Decadence.
No.
Come
Absolutely
on.
not. Absolutely
Come
not.
on.
Get out of here with that.
If you liked my... Oh my gosh, this mic's going to give it to me tonight, isn't it? Alright.
Alright, so Thoughtseize.
We're going to find out what Max is working with.
Yeah, I mean, Max doesn't really care about... Oh, he's Thoughtseizing himself.
Oh, to put Iona in the bin. Check this out. And so Iona says you can't cast spells of that color?
Correct. So if Max has any cyclers, now's the time.
So that he can Fairy Macabre, hopefully, this Iona away.
Right. So that's good. But also, if he names black, you have Beasts Within as an out.
Mm-hmm. I would personally name red as both the...
Well, then it just dies to like a Suspended Living End. But yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying both the targets for Living End are...
Both the Cascades.
Red. The Cascades.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that's not a bad one. But so Max's outs are if he runs Beast Within, main deck Shriek Maw, any number of outs here.
He could just flood the board wider.
Rudimancer gave you an A- on your Decadence, by the way.
Oh, I'll take that. That's an A. Jeez.
Yeah.
So 3.8, right? A-, 3.8. GPA.
Passing it back. That's interesting.
Well, I don't think Iona is going to make short work of this game if Max doesn't have anything.
I think he's got something, though. I thought I saw a Beast Within in hand.
He's gotta...
I think he just waited till end of turn to try and bait a counterspell, but Andrew is tapped out. You just run it out there.
Yeah, I think you just got... You gotta make that play. Yeah, the timing on this is tough.
He might be planning on Beast Withinning himself and trying to win here. So he has another Violent Outburst, and that does give other creatures +1/+0. So this is 8, 9, 10, 11. Untapping Iona.
The
Didn't see
School
the
at
Manalo.
Water's Edge.
Goryo's Gift is the deck name. Goryo's Vengeance returns a legendary creature from the battlefield to play and exiles at the end of the turn. So what the deck aims to do is fill its graveyard with Gifts Ungiven or Jace and reanimate a biggin.
So now Andrew's at 7, which puts him still kind of within range.
It definitely puts him within range, but now that the secret's out that Max is having to contend with a Vigilant Iona, it's a little bit difficult, a little bit more difficult here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Max just got taken to the School at Water's Edge.
Right? Just
Exactly.
all the way to the school.
All right, Max down to 1. This doesn't shut off a whole lot of his options, but he does need an answer for this Iona right about now.
Yep.
Going down to 5.
Oh man, that's a thing.
All right, so we've got Jace here.
Vernon's Prodigy.
Not going to be able to activate him this turn. He selected black on Iona.
Yes. Selecting black prevents the Shriekmaw, the Living End,
Hard casting a lot of guys.
yeah, lots of his deck. Probably on percentage, black is the most effective color to name. If you're just talking about how many spells can we not cast by naming black.
Sure.
We're going to go through a Feudal, Violent Outburst. We're going to look at this Living End, realize we can't cast it. And I believe it's going to remain in exile, but I don't think that ruling matters too much.
No, you can shuffle it in. You may cast it. Or you can shuffle it up and put it on the bottom.
Mm. Is it an... Is that an Aisha that I saw?
That'd be a strange one, but maybe.
All right. All right, so we're going to the sideboards. Now, it's interesting here because we're both playing graveyard-based decks.
Right.
So bringing in general hate for the graveyard, like a Relic of Progenitus,
Not great.
not good.
So
Bringing in a Leyline of the Void, much better.
yeah, Leyline of the Void's much better. I don't know that any of these decks would run Leyline of the Void. Entirely possible though. What you see a lot from the Living End decks when they need graveyard hate, you do see a little Leyline of the Void. You see a lot of Ravenous Trap, I think is the card.
Okay.
I don't know that does a whole lot against Andrew's deck though.
No,
I mean, I guess it's good against like gifts, right?
Yeah, I think Ravenous Trap's very good against gifts. That card is a nice one.
Oh yeah, it's nice. Nice little bit of tech there. I'm gonna pull it up real quick and see what the operative number of cards sitting in the graveyard has to be. 3 or more cards put into his or her graveyard from anywhere this turn, yeah. So it's very good against gifts.
From anywhere.
It's also potentially good against Jace if like they do something and then loot with Jace or vice versa.
Sure, I could see that.
So that would be pretty good here. That's typically, it used to be sideboard tech against the Grizzlebrand Reanimator decks, and this is pretty much the same thing here.
Yes, for sure. Man, what happened to those decks? Did they just get hated out? That deck was so cool.
Yeah, so it's a little bit susceptible to early discard, and it's a lot susceptible to permission. So like these Jeskai decks popping up hurts it a lot. Discard plus a clock, which the Death Shadow decks do very well. Really hate it out though.
Yeah. Yes, the tournament results from this weekend were surprising.
Very interesting.
I don't know
about surprising, but very interesting.
I mean, I can't remember a tournament with 500 or more players that got won by a pure control deck. And it might be a little bit of a misnomer to call it a pure control deck because it has Geist of St. Tefft.
Right.
But I just think that's the most efficient. It's like a dragon. It's 6 power for 3 mana.
Oh yeah.
It's hexproof. It's, you know what I mean, it's difficult to deal with. So I just think that might be the most efficient finisher they have, because you can like cast it and keep up a counterspell on turn 5.
Right.
They're not using it like play it on turn 3. We're gonna lightning greaves it or whatever and just. But yeah, I can't think of another modern tournament that has been won by a pure control deck. Modern tournament of size. I'm sure one of your locals got taken down by.
Yeah. So it really depends on what you consider a pure control deck. So like Splinter Twin in my book was a control deck, and that took down all kinds of modern tournaments. So you wouldn't have to go too far back.
Interesting. Was Splinter Twin a control deck?
Absolutely.
All right.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how both of these players have sideboarded these matches. A lot of them have a bunch of dead cards. In Max's main deck, I believe I saw he cycled an Ingot Chewer, which is a solid card, but doesn't do a whole lot here against Andrew.
Right.
King Krenko, 417. I assume 417 is the number of goblins that he has summoned. Thank you for the follow.
King Krenko is an awesome card. I think it's one of those cards that's like never been amazing.
Sure.
But it's seriously one of my favorite goblins to play. Because you on top with that guy and you're just like, make 6 1/1s.
Yeah.
Get you.
Get you.
All right. The fetch land to lead it off.
Man, Andrew did not want to draw that card. Drew an Elishnorn. Pretty decent if it gets to the board, but not something you want to draw on turn 1.
I'm sorry, that was a fast land.
Cycling a Street Wraith.
Zeroed on down, Street Wraith down, sees his second land.
The Ceradon increased the clock of Living End substantially. That was a very good print for Living End.
Yes. 6 power for cycles on 1.
Scare Croza. Thank you for the follow.
Rosa.
Yes, Krenko's Command is a very solid card.
Krenko's Command's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Choose 2. Make a goblin. Make a goblin. Make a goblin. Very solid.
No, it's only you only get, oh sure. I see what you did there.
Oh, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. That was a gem from the chat.
It wasn't me.
All right, so here we have the turn 2 Fulminator Mage.
Whew.
Putting Andrew on 0 land. This is how these Living Index combat blue decks that can board and counter spells that ruin their day.
Man, so if he's got the Violent Outburst here, and so if he casts it, if he gets his Living End off, he could Fulminator Mage Andrew again. The reason he didn't here is because he has the fetch land in play.
Right.
Which doesn't...
So he was waiting for the fetch to get popped. Oh, and he drew a Living End. That's not good.
No.
That's not good. Andrew's comfortable letting this sit. You can't let him get back in this game.
No, you had him there. You had him on the ropes. Nope.
I would respond to this fetch if I'm gonna go for it here.
Yeah, I feel like that's somewhat of a nuanced play to respond to your opponent's fetches while they're low on land. You can do things right now.
Right. So the reasoning is, so you have the instant speed Cascader. You do it on their turn, force them to interact with it if they can. But he just played a Marsh Flats. So if he wants to pop the Marsh Flats to counter your spell, he's going to have to get a non-basic land.
Right.
At which point you can untap, use your Sorcery Speed or another instant speed Cascader, and really get him.
Here we go.
I believe that is an Aisha. Yeah, Elvish in hand's rough, but he has Jaces, and he has Collective Brutalities. Like, he has ways to get it out of his hand pretty easily.
Oh, for sure.
I can't imagine he kept Thoughtseize in.
Here's that non-basic you talked about. He needs to interact with the Living End. He can't just let it slide.
Well, I don't know that he has anything. We saw his hand. We definitely saw Jace in there, some other stuff. Oh, he has a Counter Squall. Very nice. So, let's see if Andrew has another Cascade, or if Max has another Cascade spell.
Oh, this could be very good for him.
Like, this is your chance to resolve some spells. Let's do it.
So we know a Living End's in his hand.
Deck usually only runs 3.
Right. So we're on the last one if we're gonna do it at all.
Oh, we're just suspending.
Okay.
Well, it's awkward, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Depending on what else is in his hand, I might have just cast the Simian Spirit Guide.
Right.
It's not gonna win you anything. Yeah, he did get an opposite out off of the Serum Visions. Considering Chart a Course to get things out of your hand. That would be interesting. Definitely worth testing.
Chart a Course?
Chart a Course. Chart a Course.
I'm not from... Is this a new card?
This is a new card.
Okay.
MR4866. Thank you for the follow. I'm going to assume that's Mark Rosewater.
Yes, in disguise. 4866 was his high school locker combination.
It's not a very secure locker.
4866 isn't a secure one?
No, it's not.
All right. Alright.
Alright, now we've got the Demonic Dread. We're going to be able to get rid of this Jace. Man, Living End when you've got a Living End already being suspended is pretty rough.
Yeah, he's counting on like being able to roll through a lot more cyclers coming up.
Alright. So may have just been trying to pull out the negate there, which is fine. Here's Chart a Course for you.
Alright, draw 2 cards and then discard a card unless you attack with a creature this turn. Wow.
Yeah.
That card's not bad.
Not a bad one. You call the judge is what you do. So what happened there was we shuffled part of Max's deck, put it on the bottom, and then Andrew cut the entirety of Max's deck.
Interesting. I'm wondering if we didn't square the deck up too tightly, we might be able to uncut it.
I mean, there's no way a judge would do that. Just like, I mean, it looks like it got cut here. Let's just undo it. Hope for the best.
As a judge, I would pull that move. If I thought I could determine where
No, go for it.
If I thought I could determine where the deck was cut, I would uncut it.
All right.
Not close. Judges make determinations on whether or not things are perceivable all the time.
Okay. So let's see what the outcome here is.
How many cards was left? Were reshuffled?
Yeah.
I didn't count.
Quite a few.
I flipped them, put living in on stack.
Quite a few cards went off the
I
stack.
put my deck back. It was more than like 10.
I'm saying it wasn't here, was it?
That was where he made the cut.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Is this right? Right here?
Probably.
Okay.
Like I don't want any like bad stuff from this. I want to make sure everything's kosher. So.
Okay. Well, if we're 100% on this, we can undo it. Otherwise,
yes, Scott's gonna agree with me here.
That was irreparable.
Like,
so either we can fix this by putting it back. If we are 100% that this is where it was cut.
We are not 100%, but I don't want any negativeness. So if we want to just move back to that, we can. So
are you sure?
That's fine.
I say it's either I leave it alone or we move it back.
You can just leave it alone. I think if anything, he just cut the stuff I shuffled. So
okay.
Like I saw how he cut it, so I think probably leaving it as is best.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah, it's.
Because normally that's effectively irreparable, but I just happened to catch that it was like a little off kilter, so I was like, maybe we could fix it, but normally that's just unfixable.
If you're cool with this, I'm cool with this.
There's nothing else I can do. So.
Fantastic. All right.
We won then.
All right. So we're doing nothing.
All right. He did. So I do want to note that the judge did identify where the deck was cut at.
Where he thought the deck was cut at.
Where he thought the deck was cut at.
Which is.
And was ready to uncut the deck.
Right. He did specify that if we're 100% sure that this is where the deck was cut, we can just fix this. Otherwise, it's irreparable.
Right. All right. So Jace's ability on this deck, holding priority. Okay, and we're gonna Minamo. So he's gonna get 2 draw discards here. Draw discard, and then the Jace checks. Yep. And then we're gonna have to resolve another draw discard right now. There we go. Nice. Obs a did bop, did bop. Goes in the graveyard.
Yes, he does. And then we've got a
Goryo's Vengeance coming down.
Drawn there. So we're going to get a Goryo's this Ghost Council.
And that's where you want to be with this deck. Because what you can do is, instead of using the Goryo's Exile, you use the Ghost Council's Exile. Which generates a delayed trigger of it coming back into play.
Very exciting stuff.
Oh yes, very exciting, very intricate rulings here.
Bledowski, at a competitive REL, it's not something you can fix. So it would probably be
a game loss.
Yeah. Any other noises you want to make over the mic for us real quick?
Sorry. Yeah, so my ruling, my whole, uncut the deck was definitely at a local level. I would never uncut a deck at a Grand Prix or even at a PPTQ.
Okay. So, living in down to 1. Interesting that he did not Goryo's on his turn.
Uh-huh.
I know it's an instant, but you know that Max has no other living ends in his deck, so he can't really do anything on his turn anyway. So there's not a whole lot of sense in, and it was even a black and a white. I don't really understand that, but
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Here's a Nile Spellbomb, which is some targeted graveyard removal.
yeah. So Max can't play Nile Spellbomb, otherwise it would ruin his little combo, but
Right.
certainly an option for Andrew.
And one he's taken. So I think Andrew's just waiting for this living end to go off so we don't have any awkward...
Well, he gets the
Things-
Ghost Council and the Elishnorn back. And he gets Denial Spellbomb.
Oh, sure.
Targeting
So he's just going
Max.
to use his advantage. So while living ends on the stack, we're going to Fairy Macabre, target Elishnorn and Ghost Council. And Andrew has really waltzed himself into this one, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was trying to be cute here and just get a one-sided living end, but not an ideal situation. Oh, is he gonna? Ooh. Okay. So what's gonna happen here? Because living end is still in the stack.
Jeez.
Another Fairy Macabre. Well, that'll do it.
This is gonna be a big deal because Max is gonna have 4 flying power in play,
Yeah,
which
not a small amount.
no, I mean Andrew's still gonna have to answer it, and he's running out of options here.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, I agree that he could have just not pitched the Fairy Macabre there, but I mean, having 4 flying power is a real deal.
Sure.
Of note, Max has no living ends left in his deck.
Yeah, you're living at the end of the combo here.
Presumably.
Right.
Not a great place to be when you can't really cast your fatties yet.
Yeah, I think his plan is probably going to include cycling as many cards as he can so that he can hit as many land drops as he can.
Sure.
And then once you have the 5 or 6 lands in play, then you can
Start casting your
start
fatties.
casting things. Yep.
Yeah, most of them are 5s. There's a couple 6s. A Desert Ceradon might be the only one right now.
Right.
Used to have to worry about Jungle Weaver, which was notoriously difficult to cast.
All right. So Jace is going to give Serum Visions flashback-ish. It's not flash. It's not flash. Oh,
Backish.
my- It's not flashback exactly,
Right.
but it reads like you can cast it from your graveyard or some such nonsense.
Alright, so we've hard cast an Obsidian.
Yep.
So this is going to be very difficult for Max to erase in his current state.
Yeah, Max is gonna have to have like a well-timed beast within or something.
Yeah.
To get this Ghost Council out of the way.
And you're looking for copies of Beast Within, I'm assuming?
Yep. Here comes the attack for 4.
Not a great attack.
I mean, you can't block because Obsidian's 5, so you could chump it once.
Right. So chumping it once might be the call here. So
to what end, though?
So Andrew is going to put Max down to 9 and then attack for 5, put him down to 4. And this attack just doesn't do much. So this puts him down to 13. He'll gain 5 or gain 2, go up to 15. At this point, I'd be much more interested in just trying to get to a board position where I can reasonably kill this Obsidian or race it. At this point, you've only got 2 turns, and jumping it doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, you can't even play enough lands in 2 turns to like create a blocker that can kill it. You know what I mean? Even if he hits both his land drops, it's still
right.
It's still no 5 power guy for 5.
I don't recommend hitting your computer with a wrench. Headcrab zombie. As an IT guy, that's not something I would recommend doing.
Do you bill yourself as an IT guy?
I mean, I could.
I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying I didn't know how you branded yourself.
I do more than IT is the problem, so I can't really brand myself as just IT and selling myself short.
I see. Selling myself short. Wouldn't want you to do that.
Yeah, I'm a solutions expert. Thank you very much.
Is that actually your title?
I don't know that I have a title. That's what I put on my email signature, though.
That's great. That's what I like about my job. You don't have to fancy it up at all to make it seem like I'm more than I am.
Hey now.
You're an all-star, man. I can't help you.
All right. Max calls it quits. Seen enough.
Yeah, when you get the living end in hand and you're like forced to suspend it, and then you get in a position where you're forced to like run your second one out so that your third one can, it just was really.
Yeah, and he played really poorly the second game too. He had an opportunity to, after his turn 2 Fulminator, bring back a Fulminator and 4/4, the Monstrous Carabid, with a living end when he had 1 mana.
Right.
And he opted to not do that, and in my opinion, that was kind of the beginning of the end for him. Also, didn't see any sideboard from him. He might have brought in some extra Fairy Macabre. You can't sideboard a ton of cards here, but I would definitely expect some Ricochet traps.
Right.
So, that'll do it for round 1. Goryo's Gifts takes it down. We'll be back for some more Hot Modern action here in about 10 minutes.
See you then.
See you then.